right, we are live and direct. Greetings from Reykjavik, Iceland. It's a lovely, brisk, near freezing day, and I want to welcome you to Loud and Clear with Glenn Schick, where we talk about mastering, audio production, and the things that actually make records translate in the real world. I'm Glenn Schick, and I'm a mastering engineer of over 30 years. So everybody thinks that mastering can fix anything, and that's not always the case. But we're going to give you some real good info today. So if you've spent weeks on your mix and you've spent years on your mix and you're ready to send it to mastering and you're in the last 5 minutes of the export, I'm going to give you some tips today, 10 important tips on how not to ruin your mastering session and what to have prepared before that. So here's the 10-point checklist that we're going to do, and that's what we do here at Glenn Schick Mastering. And also, because it's something that goes through my office quite a bit, I want to introduce you to a special guest today. So we have Kevin Gumbo, who is my studio manager. How long, Kevin?
About 20 years now. 19.
So if I'm the ears of the company, Kevin is the heart of the company, and we're happy to have him today. And we're going to be discussing all the fun things that happens when you're ready for mastering.
Yes.
So you ready to hit it, Kev?
Yes, let's do it.
All right. So checkpoint number 1 is going to be the cooling off period. So what do I mean by that? Kevin, what's the typical thing that happens when somebody calls us for mastering? How long have they thought about it?
They're excited, Glenn. They're super excited. They're ready to go. So they just got their prints and they're ready to send it over to us. But we always suggest for them to take a pause, take a little bit of time, live with your mix. There may be some, things that have happened since, you spoke to the engineer. He may have sent you the wrong prints. He may have mixed, certain words on your clean version. Just a lot of things that may happen. So we usually encourage people to live with their mixes about 24 to about 48 hours before they send it to us, so we can look into scheduling them for mastering.
Yeah, it's I think the trend lately has been to export your master and book the session like 6 minutes later, or call us like the day before you've even finished the mix and say, we're going to master tomorrow, but I'll be done in like an hour. So we're trying to avoid that, and you really want to sit with that mix for a little while. Make sure you love it before you send it to us, because what will happen is we'll master it, and then you'll get it back and you'll go, oh, I really should have taken that part out. And guess who's going to have to pay for that?
Yes.
So we're trying to save you some dough here.
And I would say that about 90% of the projects that come in, like where everybody's in a rush, there's always something that we have to, either recall, or, there was something missing, there were missing versions. So just make sure you take that time to really check your stuff.
So we're going to call point number 1 the ear reset. Give yourself some time to just like chill out, love your mix, and send it to mastering. So point number 2, a lot of mixers and also project people are kind of unsure, like, is my vocal loud enough? Is it sitting good in the mix? Mm-hmm. And what I'd suggest to you, how many of our clients do this, by the way, Kev?
We have a small set of clients that do it, but not all of them, right?
Okay, like, and what I'm talking about, just so they know, is sending a vocal up or even a vocal down sometimes if you're feeling like it might be too loud. So is it just really the good engineers that send that stuff to us?
Yes, like the
Okay.
just yeah, the the ones that are just really preemptive about it, and they already kind of know, like, hey, we me and the client, let's say I'm the mixing engineer and the client, we've been going back and forth. Usually they'll provide us like that vocal up or that vocal down, and just let Glenn really, hone in on what he's really hearing that he likes.
Yeah, because I can hear something in 2 seconds and know whether the vocal's sitting right.
Yeah,
So if you haven't sent your files ahead of time to the mastering house, whoever it may be, and let them listen to it first, which don't we normally suggest that you send it like way in advance so we can really give it a listen.
mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
that's definitely the best way to go. So send
Yeah.
tip number two, or checklist, vocal safety up.
Yep.
Uh, so tip number three for your checklist. Three,
Three.
communications.
Yes. Yes.
So if you're new to working with a mastering engineer, just learn how to communicate what your wants and needs are.
Mhm.
Uh, let's talk about expectations versus reality.
Yeah.
Kev, you want to weigh in a little
Yeah,
on
yeah.
this?
So expectations versus reality. A lot of times we get clients or new clients that will send us their mix, but they also have been listening to reference, and it could be whatever, Dr. Dre, Jay-Z, Kendrick Lamar, whatever they love hearing. And a lot of times what ends up happening there is that the mix that they've sent and the Kendrick Lamar song that they've sent are two totally different things going on, from vibe, from expectations, from reality. It's just a lot of things that are not matching there. And we usually do a real good job of communicating to them, like, hey, listen, this reference that you sent is not really, matching what's going on in your mix. And Glenn does a super good job of just like explaining, like, hey, this is what's going on in your mix. This is what you may want to do next time with your mix. And Glenn, we were talking about this earlier. I was saying that I think our clients really love that when they communicate well by giving us these references, but you giving them like, hey, listen, next time, this is what you want to do. And we see improvements every time when we communicate that way.
Yeah, we have long histories with a lot of people going back 20, 30 years. And part of the service that, a good mastering engineer will give you is to help you get better.
Yeah.
We want you to get better, and we want to do our best for you. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's all about doing the best we can do for you. So that's tip number three, communication.
Yeah.
Uh, checklist number four, we're going to call the metadata audit. And so why don't you fill in what happens most of the time when
Yeah.
somebody sends us a song and how it arrives?
Yes, we've gotten all sorts of types of files, all sorts of names on the files. So sometimes we'll get MP3s. People attach to me the session. I've actually had somebody attach me just the Pro Tool thumbnail file, not even like anything else. So we get it all, right?
Mhm.
But usually we want to make sure that we are getting the proper file. When you get in touch with me, I usually email you and just let you know exactly what we need. So no sessions, no MP3s. We usually want the WAV file, and I'll let Glenn jump in and kind of chime in on this. The WAV or the AIFF, just depending on what format you're on. And you want to give it to us the way it was initially recorded. Glenn, you want to kind of jump in and expound on that?
Sure. So there's a couple things. When you're exporting your files, you want to make sure they're in the same sample rate and same bit rate as your session was. So don't
Mhm.
change them, don't sample it up, don't sample it down, just whatever it was at.
Yeah.
Export. And then we want stereo, WAV, or AIFF files.
Mhm.
Don't send us sessions. Please don't send us sessions. Some people do stems. Stems are a very personal thing if your mastering engineer works with them or not. I prefer to let the mixer do the mixing. So we personally would rather you give us a finished mix.
Mhm.
And as far as metadata, which is
Yeah.
all the data that's encoded into your master, we want to make sure you got the song title,
Yeah.
the
Artist.
sequence, the
Mhm.
artist name, with all correct spellings. And if you want capitals, make sure it's capitals. And if it's in lowercase, make sure it's in lowercase. So
Yeah.
make sure you also don't send everything to us with the old titles of the songs that you're going to change later, because that will cause confusion down the road like nobody's business. So,
yes. And the last thing too to add to that, Glenn, is type it out. And the reason why we ask you to type it out is it just triggers something in your brain to actually check everything. We've had it where people have sent us the track lists, like the artwork from the track list, or a screenshot, and I can copy and paste from a screenshot, but like, we just want you to kind of, do a little bit of homework and just making sure you type everything out, you double check everything. So that way, when we send you files, we've had projects where we've had to send files numerous times because there were a few typos that were, we were given to by the client.
Yep. So, that's checklist number 4, the metadata audit. And checklist number 5 is a vibe reference. So whether it's communicated or sending us a file of something that you really are going for, if you're going for lo-fi or retro or high fidelity or whatever, you got to communicate that to your mastering engineer. Really, really important. And you can send us a reference of a song you like, or an artist you like, or a recording, and that'll help us a lot. And sometimes it's doable and sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
So that's number 5, the vibe reference.
The vibe, yes.
Yep. And then number 6, we kind of went over that a bit here. That's export integrity. So make sure stereo files, sample rates, bit rates, all the same, no sessions, no stems. Got that.
Yeah.
So number 7 is the alt checklist. And by alt, I mean alt passes. Like if you have a clean, explicit, a cappella, TV track, instrumental, tell us. How many times do we get sessions where they send us the album and then they go, oh, and by the way, 2 weeks later, we also have these.
Yes, it happens all the time, or the other way around, where it's like, we had a conversation with the client and we're expecting main mixes only, and then we end up getting 7 versions of each song. So communication again, like what we said earlier, just let us know, and even if things change in the middle of you thinking about things, it's always good, because that informs Glenn, that also informs our schedule. It just helps us a lot to just make sure that your project can be a very smooth process.
Yeah, you got to think about it. If you're sending somebody a 10-song album and you've got 7 versions of each, that's all of a sudden 70 files instead of 10 files.
Yeah.
So you got to allow some time and budget and everything else. So keep that in mind. Yes. And let the ME know.
Yes. Yes.
Number 8, I don't have enough fingers. Number 8 on your checklist is going to be kill your loudness limiter. So we've gotten a little more reasonable about like not having everything super loud anymore, but I would suggest, if you want your best master that's really going to have some impact, dynamic, and some life to it, take the limiter off. We'll make it loud for you. So that's number 8. Kill the loudness limiter. Number 9, headroom. And this is also kind of related as well. We used to recommend a -6 dB headroom ceiling, so we'd have some room to work. And I think we've also relaxed that a little bit because stuff has gotten louder and louder over the years. But it's nice to have a little headroom. So if you could do that for us, we'd like that, or your other mastering engineer you're working with.
Yeah.
And let's see. If you use 32-bit float, that's also a good way of keeping some extra headroom. And then the last thing really is your sonic North Star. And by that is, what's the goal for this in mastering? Like, if, like Kevin mentioned before, is it Dr. Dre is your goal to sound like? And we're going to, again, talk to you. And I think, Kevin, you can say more than often, how much of the time are people really surprised at how much it helps, or how little something helps between their goal and what the
No,
reality is?
it's really helpful. Like, I think, yeah, and you fostered that culture here where it's like it's a community, right? So it's a lot of communication, it's a lot of, them hearing from you. And even I was gonna say a point too from what you just said earlier was we've had it to where sometimes clients are like, hey, I don't think I wanted it that loud, right? But it's like it's good for us to know prior to the master, like how, like how do you want it to feel, right? Like how hard do you want it hitting? And all these notes are really, good to just make that process again really smooth for Glenn. And if he has any questions, and I've seen you, Glenn, where we have projects where you're like, nah, man, I really feel like this is where it sits, and you explain it, you walk the client through, and they're super happy. They call me months later, they're like, man, that last one we were super happy about. So I think, the to summarize this whole list is just really for us to just help us help you, so we can really make every project go as smooth as possible, and make you super happy.
So whether you book with us, whether you book with another mastering engineer, whether you're doing your mastering yourself, make sure you go through this checklist, because it's going to apply to all of you.
Yes.
So other than that, I want to thank Kevin for coming on the live stream today.
I
He
think we
was
have a
my
question. We have a
Oh, we do?
question here, Glenn. Do you see it?
Okay. Let me see if I can find the
If
question
you look
here.
in the
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
StreamYard, yeah.
Let's see. We have a hello from Poland. How would you compare mastering mixes from what you would call emotional mixes, like Neil Pogue, Manny, versus more technical formal mixes? I guess the closest thing I can really say to that is the mixer has the intent, and I want to keep his intent with his mix.
Yeah.
So my final master will be aiming to just polish the goals of whatever the mixer or producer wanted.
Mhm.
So if he's trying to do something technical and 3D, then that's what I'm going to shoot for. If he's going for a vibe, that's what I'm going to shoot for. So it's very personal and personally tailored to every single project. So that's it. I don't think we have any other questions on the board. We'll have a Q&A day soon. But thanks everybody for tuning in today.
Thank
And
you.
thank you, Kevin. And we'll see you next week. Actually, maybe even this week. Take care.